my living DNA done. The results came in and I'm a human. My living DNA results have come in. Woohoo! Yay! They've teamed up with, what is it? Find My Past. And so you can upload for a limited time in a sort of, is it beta or beta? Anyway, you can upload for free if you've got a third-party DNA result, and they will tell you what your ancestry is and also give you a sort of family tree, sort of, you know, it matches you. At the moment, it's still in beta, so I just got this yesterday. I uploaded it ages ago, and I put my mother's and father's too, but theirs hasn't come through yet, and the family search thing is still really, I mean, all it's told me is that my mum and dad are related to me. And initially, I did put a different test up, and then I realised that it was obviously my mother's test because it says that my mother and me were identical twins. I thought, that's probably not right. So I uploaded it again. I uploaded my DNA again after that. So it was definitely my DNA, and that's the one that's come in first before any of the others. So this is interesting. Now, I had it originally done with Ancestry, and originally they told me that I was mostly European, but I had about 1.2% to 2%, actually to 3 or 4% Caucasus, and a little bit of Melanesian, a little bit of Native American. And they said that my dad had Polynesian, and my mother was mostly European. Now they've updated it now. So my mother has got a different update, and it says instead of just Scandinavian, it's got rid of all the trace amounts. I'm not sure about that because it's sort of blah and flat. So what's happened with mine is it's got rid of all the trace amounts and just stuck everything in Britain. It's just like, you're British, meh. I knew I was British. I want to know a bit more detail. So DNA, my DNA is, I think, more complicated than, yeah, you're British. So living DNA focuses on the British thing. So it is going to focus mainly on where in Britain you are, which, you know, that's interesting. So the first thing is the family ancestry map. It shows the complete thing. It says I'm 98.8% Europe and 1.2% Asia Central. Now that's on the complete, which means that they're just saying, hey, that's just an overall picture. So the standard, you actually go to sub-regional, so that's quite good. You can go to regional and sub-regional. Now when you go to sub-regional, it says, it breaks it down, and it breaks it down in a little map of the UK there, of different places. And it gives me a big chunk, 16.1% Irish, 53.5% South Wales border, 18.6% South Wales, 3.5% South East England, 2.8% North West England, 2% North Wales, and 1.4% South Yorkshire. Ooh, and 1% South Central England. But then when you look at that in standard, the world is unassigned, 1.2% unassigned. So now when you go to complete, it says it's from Chechnya, right? That's interesting. But then you go to cautious, and it completely changes. Really, it still says the 1.2% non-European is unassigned. It's all over the world somewhere. But the Great Britain and Ireland breakdown is probably more into what is actually true, because this is what they think is what they can definitely tell. And with that, I'm still 98.8% British, but it says 75.9% South Wales border related ancestry. But that goes all the way down to Somerset and Devon for some reason. Then it says Cornwall. There's no Irish now. Instead, it's Cornish, Cornwall related ancestry, 16.1%. Now that's probably true because I've actually traced that. Now I've got an awful lot of Cornish and Devon and Somerset relatives. And then it goes South East England related 3.5%, North Wales 2%, North Yorkshire 1.4%, and then none of the others, world unassigned 1.2%. Now this is interesting, right? Because this actually is more in tune with any of the others than before. Now I've got 1.2%, not any part of Europe. Now it's taken away all the different parts of Europe that I had with several other people, but it's sort of, you have to tally with the others. So I'll show you some of the other things that I've had. Now with Wegene, which is mainly focused on people of Asian ancestry, but you can upload it anyway. That said that I had Native American, and I think it was 0.85%, and a bit of South Asian. And then it broke down the European into various different things. It said it was mostly French. So that's interesting. Then you go to DNA land, and that also said that I've got a Native American, 1.2%, but it says ambiguous Native American, so I'm not sure. And so I think this 1.2% Chechnya, they're saying, we've stuck it all in Chechnya, that's near enough. That's what they've done with the, but with a more cautious one, they're like 1.2% something, which is probably true. If you look at, if you've gone to GEDMatch, anyway, that breaks down things differently. It's the same information, they've just looked at it in different ways. And that has really given me a sort of breakdown of all over the world. It's all over the world. So a little bit of, so that 1.2%, you can break it down quite a lot further. And then MyHeritage also says a Native American, but it says sort of the Baltic and Greek. So that tallies with the sort of Chechnya. It's near enough Chechnya. It's that sort of Asian Europe borders. But I think it breaks it down in a different way. They all break it down in different ways. So I'm not sure really, but I was looking at this. How many ancestors do you have? Because this is over 10 generations, this living DNA one. This is over 10 generations, and over 10 generations, that's your 8th great grandparents. You would have 1,024 people at the most. That's how many great great grandparents you had in about 1650 for me, 1650 to 1700, that sort of area. I would have at most 1,024, but I know I don't, because it breaks down, and there's a big patch of my mother's ancestry from Devon and Cornwall and Somerset. There was a couple of families that all married each other, so there's that, so there's fewer there. Also, everybody with any European ancestry at all, I guarantee you're going to be able to trace yourself back to at least one ruler, at least one king or queen, probably a lot more, and I've definitely done a lot more. And at one point, I traced myself back to Henry I, and I'm pretty much related to every single one. He had about 30 children. I'm pretty much related to almost all of those children. Some of them were illegitimate, and some of them were legitimate. I can trace myself back to at least half of them, which means it all collapses into a pyramid. So if you've got any European ancestry, blue. So basically, all the crowned heads of Europe are related to me, and probably you too. And then out of the 1,024 possible maximum people, there's about 12, because 1.2% non-European, so there's about 12 to 13, maybe more, maybe less, but we'll say 12 or 13 people that weren't from Europe out of all of those, out of the 1,024. So on family tree DNA, I've got a bit of African, South African, a little bit of North and South American, and some Middle Eastern and some Asian. So if it's 1.2% not European, then that would be about 12 people in about 1650 to 1700 that were from other places. But if you go up to 3 or 4%, then it's 25, 30, something like that. Quite a lot of people. Now, I haven't found any of them really, because it just trails away. So they've also got this thing here where you can see how much of your DNA is what. So that's all the blue dots are European, and then there's like little greeny dots all over me. So I'm about 3%, maybe 1 to 2%. I don't know how many percentage I am that's not British. Some percent. But you know, you look at the British Isles, and that's made of lots of different people that came into it. It's not a homogenous thing, really. It's the Cornish. Apparently, there's quite a lot of Iberian in the Cornish and in the Irish, and there's also the Celts. Apparently, came from far, far away in the east, and there's been a lot of influx. The Saxons and the Norsemen and the everyone. Angles and the Jutes and the many people. So yeah, you can't, in the last 200 or 300 years I'm mainly Welsh and a little bit Cornish and Devonish and Somerset with a little tiny bit of Northerner in me. That's in the last 200 years. I knew that. Further back, everywhere, which is quite exciting. But you know, who are you to believe? Because Ancestry changed their mind, but they didn't really. They just decided to, we're not telling you the little bits. We're just going to go, British. All right then, bye-bye.